Yo, everyone! It's your boy Ken Dog, Kenny, whatever you want to call me these days, just because I'm on top of the world. Now, let me stop. All right, so welcome to week 12 of the fantasy season. We are like literally on the home stretch right now, getting towards that playoff push. But before we even jump in, I have a very special guest I like to introduce for this week. He is not so on the bottom anymore, as they say. It is Bikini, not so bottom. Bubble Bass, bmack, say what is up to the people.
How we doing, everyone? How we doing? I'm really glad to be here for today's episode. I'm excited to get into it and dive into some fantasy football. Thanks for having me, Ken.
Always, man. Appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. Well, around the news, I guess we can say NFL wise first, we had definitely a lot of injuries. Again, another week, another injury. What do you know? Especially with Aaron Rodgers, Drake London, Josh Jacobs. Some of the pretty bigger names. Michael Penix out for the season now. Uh,
Don't forget about my previous Raven over there on the Broncos, J.K. Dobbins, out for the season as
yes,
well.
J.K. Dobbins also out for the season. So there's definitely some big fantasy impact for some of those names. And CJ Stroud still going to be out this week with a concussion. And I realize concussions last at 3 weeks, but I guess they do. So definitely some fantasy. And Marvin Harrison Jr. He got appendicitis.
Appendicitis.
Appendicitis. That is really interesting. But you can't control Mother Nature in life, so. And then we'll talk about Jamar Chase and his suspension, and that is. Oof. Anywho, all right. Well, those are just some of the highlights around the NFL, and we had some pretty good games last week. Low scoring, I think, a lot of them, but except for that Buffalo game. But yeah, it was really good. So let's look at our standings here. And now, like I said last week, we are definitely in full playoff push mode at this point. And starting over with the East here. Dan on a little mini win streak here, 3-game win streak, tied at this point with Corey. Corey's just leading in points, at 7-4, and right behind him is Nick and Shane at 6-5, and then Vinny at 5-6. So listen, it is still anybody's division here. At this point, it's we still got 3 weeks left, so they're only back by 2 games for at least a division lead. But yeah, what are you thinking about this division here, BMac?
Dude, it's looking rough over there in the East. Everyone's in contention. It's hard to say if Corey or Dan lose this week, and someone like Shane, who's also been very hot, they could take over very very quickly. 3 weeks, 2 games behind. Everyone's division right now over there in the East.
Oh yeah, but yeah, and don't count yourself out, Vinny, because I know you're a little bit injury ridden right now with Wilson and London, but it's crazier things have happened. so so
Classic Kenny catch line,
classic,
catchphrase there.
exactly. And then move on over to the West. I know I had said last week, and you were officially eliminated, but you actually have gotten the E this week, so you are. And unfortunately, Tybo has also joined that list. What are some goodbye words to Tybo, BMac, for his?
Tybo, thanks for playing. We love to have you every year. Wish to see a little bit more energy next year, a little bit more fight. But I don't know, man.
Yeah,
Going bald changes people.
yeah, it does. Trust me, I'm doing it naturally, so I know the feeling.
Yeah, but Kenny, you're doing it the right way. The natural way is taking you to 8-3.
This is very true, and it's looking like here, BMac, it's going to be between us for the division winner here. So it'll come down to, hopefully, I would love for it to come down to the final week. But we'll we'll see what happens. And Trayvon, you are currently in win now mode at 4-7. I think at this point, if you don't win out, it's going to be very rough for you to make the playoffs. And with Chase being on that 1 game suspension, that doesn't help your case. So
All eyes should be on Trayvon this week.
yes, Trayvon, your matchup is very important. I don't remember who you play, but we will
We'll
get
get into that.
yeah. And BMack is still keeping up for that. I've been trying to pull away from him, but he still keeps hanging on.
Like a
So
thorn in your side, Ken. I'm not
I
going
know,
anywhere.
I know, but you know what? We'll see what happens. All right, and yeah, we talked about points here. Okay, cool. All right, and everyone. So let's just take a look at the. Well, first, before we jump into last week's matchup, let's look at some of the waiver pickups this week. I know a lot of it had to do with bye weeks and injuries. So jumping into here for today, the one thing that Ant's good at is picking up those running backs that he picked up Tracy when Scat got hurt, Wilson when with Jacobs being out this week. So obviously priority number one being Emmanuel Wilson, and he's always been the number one waiver wire guy. So he's always able to get who he wants, which is great. And then obviously Nick having Justin Herbert on a bye picks up Purdy. It's a great pickup because Purdy had a great game. They're going up against. I think they're going up against the. Are they going up against the Colts? No, the Colts. That's Chiefs. Carolina is. I think it's Carolina this week. So that should be a pretty good matchup. And then just a couple defense pickups. And then Nick here picked up Christian Watson, who had a great 2 touchdown game last week, which was very promising to see because he was at one point, I think last year, was it last year? He was like the guy pretty much for Love.
He was the number one
Yeah.
on the Packers.
Yeah, then he got hurt. He's just been injury prone. So
Hey, he's a
um,
dog. If
he
he balls
is.
out and he plays out what he did last year, that's a great pickup for Nick over there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, and then I had went and picked up Jacoby Brissett because he's been last few weeks he's been throwing the ball. Last week he had a what was
Record,
it
right?
record, right? Yeah, most completions. What was it? 47 completions. I mean that is like uh, the last person to do that. What they said was Kurt Warner and Drew Bledsoe. And Kurt Warner, that was the greatest show on earth, and Drew Bledsoe right before Tom Brady came in. So it's that's years ago. And then Nick also picked up Hunter Henry here and dropped Njoku. He finally got rid of his 2 Browns tight end. I was wondering who he was going to drop, but I think Hunter Henry is. You've had Hunter Henry too, BMac, for
I did, I
some time.
did. He was on a really good kind of averaging 6 points a week, and it looks like he's going to be consistent with that.
Yeah, yeah, but against Cincinnati this week, one of the worst defenses. We'll see what happens if he used him. I don't know if he's using him. We'll see. But yeah, those are the waiver pickups. Like I said, probably the more important one was the Emmanuel Wilson one. So, congrats to Ann on getting him, and we'll see. He, he's holding it from everyone else. I know a lot of people probably tried getting him, but he's a killer with those. He always knows what to grab.
Great for Ant to stay competitive
I
and
love it.
staying active on the waiver wires, making it harder for everyone else. Hey, if he takes
Definitely.
out a win in one of these last 3 weeks, that can ruin someone's season.
Absolutely. The upsets? Absolutely. All right. Well, let's take a look at last week's matchups here. And I guess we want to start with what was supposedly the matchup of the week. I know I keep saying it every week from myself being in it, but it's true. It was me taking on Nick here. And I was very surprised. Nick was projected at 150 points. And I really thought I was just going to take an L this week, especially with no JT, him being on a bye. So I guess no JT, no problem, as they say. But um,
Well, one thing Nick did face was a big injury with Justin Herbert, so
Oh,
that
yes.
also hurt with a lot of the Chargers offense going on.
Yeah, I guess like that's the thing. Like, so they got demolished by the Jags. That was a surprising game. I didn't expect that. But obviously, if the whole team's hurting, it's going to affect you fantasy wise. So um, that was pretty rough for the Chargers. And it just overall, everyone a poor performance except for JSN, who always gets you 20 somehow every week. Same with Achan. And then my Cowboys stopping Genty. We love to see it. Quit big Q at a sack. Sorry, had to do a little cowboy action in there, but you know. So yeah, I was very impressed that this is one of the lower weeks that Nick's had in the past for a couple of weeks. He's had a lot of like 120, 130, 140 weeks. So especially your matchup last week against him, BMAC.
Yeah, that was an very high scoring fantasy matchup.
Yeah.
But going
So
back onto the Ashton Genty, I mean, grats to your Cowboys holding him to his lowest outing of his year this year. But
yeah.
how do we feel about him as the star that came in? Is he living up to that hype? I mean, he's had a couple of really good games, and
Yeah.
he's averaging out at running back 12 here or 13. But
Yeah.
with the Raiders being as bad as they are,
Yeah.
it's rough to see.
Yeah, it's that offensive line. It's you know they he when he was in Boise State they fed the ball through him. They had an O line. He was averaging almost 200 yards a game. He's getting tackled behind before he could even like make a cut, like behind the line of scrimmage. I think he's had probably there was a stat where he had like more tackles behind the line of scrimmage like than like or something about yards behind the line of scrimmage than like some of the game at one point. Like it was really bad. And I truly think that if he was on a better team with a better O line, that he will feast.
I agree with you. I really hope that the Raiders kind of figure it out and build a better offensive line this offseason because he has a very bright future ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just kind of have to look at when Saquon left the Giants, to Philly, he ran for over 2,000 yards last year. So it really is. It's truly a matter of what your O line is. So
Great take, Ken.
yes, absolutely. So people always sleep on tackles and guards, but that's what protects your QB, protects your offense. So. But overall, I think Nick will have a bounce back week. Well, he won't, unfortunately, just because Herbert is on a bye. I think Achan is too, so he's going to be struggling this week too. So we'll get into that when we talk about the this week's matchups. Um, and then looking over on my side here, it was great to see. I'm very happy Kittle stopped his run blocking, and with the return of Purdy, he's coming back to his old form again, which is great, and they definitely need it. Um, and Nico and Davis Mills are finally finding a connection, and yeah, so
And
uh,
Ken, you had a massive waiver pickup last week with Michael Wilson with
yes,
33.5 on your bench.
yeah, left him on the bench. I mean, because I didn't know. I figured it was gonna be 30 targets to Trey McBride. Um, and so I figured, against especially San Francisco, they have a probably mid-tier defense. I was thinking that it really wouldn't matter at the really wouldn't matter, but apparently it did. And so with Marvin Harrison being out this week, it makes him another wide receiver one, and that
That's
definitely
something for you to think about moving
something
forward to next week.
something to think about for next week is exactly right, especially with Debo being on a bye. So we'll see. Um, but yeah, so overall, I was pretty happy with my performance. And yeah, I was really shocked. This one was a shocking year for me. I truly expected a blowout and Nick to beat me, but this is fantasy life, and it's just you have one of those weeks. It always happens. So, but overall, a great matchup, Nick. Thank you for the battle. I loved it. and I look forward to our future battles. Well, let's move on to the
The blowout of the week.
blowout of the week, and my oh my, Dan taking on Tybo, and this is our first 100 plus uh, uh, score, like 100 plus win uh, of the season. And my oh my, 177. That's like the third highest this year, I believe. With of course, what's his name? Trayvon being at 182, I believe. Me at 179, and then Dan at 177. So, um, yeah, that is
A lot of high scores this
a
year.
lot of high scores this year. But Dan, he probably wishes all these people play like this every week, and they could have up to their potential. I mean, when you look at it, finally the breakout game for Tet McMillan. No, I mean he's been pretty consistent around the 11 to 12 point range, couple 17. But what did you think about his 33-point game?
I mean, it's always amazing to see a team draft a guy and them to finally break out into star that they needed, and it was a great game, honestly. You always like to see it. Hopefully, he can keep this up, and
Yes.
he might become a superstar going into the league, someone you never expected.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he definitely is targeted a lot. This is the lowest targets have been five. So he gets targeted at least 8 times a game. I mean, like he's had a lot of games where he's targeted 8 times, 10 times, just one, and then the last game 12 times. So finally, the Tet McMillan show. And Bryce also had a career game too. He had like what was it, 400 or was it 400? No, 300 something passing yards. So Bryce had a really good game too. Great to see that Carolina's playing a lot better this year than they have been in the past because Bryce is the number one pick in the past for a reason. So and we got Bijan, and the reason why I point out Bijan is because of his recent games. Algier is we thought he's here to stay, but it's still Bijan's backfield. 23 carries, 104 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Second highest scoring of the year. Um, so Nick had asked me about Algier. I want to ask you, bmack, what do you feel about this Algier taking, carries from Bijan? Do you compare it to like a Gibbs Monty type of situation, or what
You
do you?
know, I wouldn't compare it to a Gibbs Monty situation. Those guys are seeing a much more even split.
Okay.
Obviously, Bijan is that guy in the Atlanta backfield, but he's gonna need breaks. He's gonna have to come out the game. But when you have a stud like Algier as your RB2, I mean, when he sees that time to shine, he's gonna take off and run with it. And, when you're in that limelight, you got to make with what you got. And some days he's gonna produce at that RB1
Yeah.
running back look, and some days
Yeah.
he's not. I don't think it's gonna be a matter of eating into Bijan's time. I
Yeah.
think Bijan's got that locked in.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I think in deeper leagues, like if you had like a 12 or 14 man team, Algier is actually probably more of a starter. Like because when you have like more teams in your league, I would say you could probably put Algier and he'll get you maybe a touchdown a game. He's touchdown dependent, but still,
I definitely agree.
yeah,
He's definitely could be a flex option, even an RB2 in some situations in some
yeah,
deeper leagues. He's
yeah.
averaging about 9 points a game,
9 points a
so
game. That's almost you're getting towards your flex territory a little bit. So
definitely one of the better RB2s in the league.
sure. Wow, this is the first time that Dan did not use the Seahawks defense.
And it paid off for him.
It did, 22 points against Cincinnati. That was a bold play because the last time they had the Battle of the Unks, it was a high scoring 50 to 40, whatever it was, or 40 to 40 something. So, uh, wow, Dan does his defense research.
He's on top of that.
On top of it, we love to see it.
Unfortunately, he made a play of picking up Jacory. We're not going to call him Bill anymore.
No, he is not Bill anymore.
But it didn't seem to really affect the outcome this week.
Not at all.
Bucky Irving's return date's still up in the air, so we'll see what Dan does this week.
It'd be interesting, and also Godwin too. So, and then that's a good question too, or a question for you. When Ramondre comes back, is he going to take over the backfield or split with Travion? Or do you think that it's Travion's backfield now?
I mean, I would love to see Travion Henderson continue what he's doing. He's showing why they drafted him. I think he's an RB1 potential on that team. I think he
Yeah,
should have been getting the rock a little bit more on earlier in the
I
season.
agree.
Ramondre is a stud. He knows how to find his way into the end zone. Um, Honestly, I think they should do more of what a Gibbs Monty situation was last year, where Travion Henderson is getting, that bulk of the workload while we're seeing Ramondre Stevenson more in red zone situations.
Okay. So you're comparing Gibbs to Travion and Ramondre to Monty.
Not necessarily. I think Travion can hold his own as a power back and in the receiving
Okay.
game. I see him overall as the better running back.
Okay.
But Stevenson, he's just he's a mini bulldozer.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got these running backs for a reason. It would be a shame to see all of them not play,
Right.
but they got to find a way to even that split out and
Yeah.
let Travion Henderson shine.
Yeah. Okay. I respect the take. Absolutely. All right. Well, congrats, Dan, on that win, and we'll move over to Tybo here and on a little his. Tybo, yeah, I mean, 77 1 points. That's got to be the lowest of the year. I'm thinking. I don't think anybody scored below that, unless somebody had a
Definitely around there.
yeah, it's got to be the lowest. I mean, of course, hurting the injury to Josh Jacobs. They're saying though they were positive about it that he may have a chance to suit up this week, but I don't think he's gonna. I think honestly they'll just keep him out 1 week and he'll come back against Detroit. And then also, you know, Rashad White is, when Bucky comes back, he's gonna. And also, we don't want to talk about Sean Tucker.
Sean Tucker, I was gonna say
Yeah,
he broke out last week.
yeah,
He had 100 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns
Three
actually. I think
touchdowns.
he had three. Yeah, he had 3 touchdowns. Um, uh, so he definitely took over that number 2 spot. So, um, Thibault, you're going to need to do some potential running back waiver options. I mean, you have Swift, it's okay, but once White, I think White now is going to definitely be the RB3. Disappointing game from Amon Ra, and the one thing that stuck out to me about that was 12 targets, 2 catches. So that's kind of crazy to me. Um, but that was a pretty low scoring game to begin with. Goff was struggling.
They'll
Um,
have a bounce back next week against the Giants.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And Philly's as much as yeah, Philly is that team for sure. So, but overall, Tybo, just a bad week for your guys. Obviously injuries and just some bad weeks, but um, next week we'll get you a bounce back. All right. All right. Um, well, there really weren't no nail biters, but if we had to give a nail biter, it was between Vinny and Corey since it was um, uh, a 12-point win by Corey here. Actually, I think coming in, I think he only had Pickens left, Corey, and he was down by like almost 20 something or whatever it was. I forgot exactly what it was, but and Pickens ended up having himself a pretty good game against the Raiders. Actually outscored CD, which was really surprising. But that's you kind of pick and choose with the Cowboys offense. It's usually going to be sometimes it'll be both, sometimes it'll be one or the other. And that's kind of how I felt with like I think it's like Puka and Cooper when at the time when they were both, or you could even say not Puka and Cooper, Puka and Devontae. That's kind of compare it to that a little bit as far as like who gets the most points. But
George Pickens is turning into that guy.
yeah,
You love to see it. He kind of bounced around, and it looks like he finally found a home with the Cowboys.
yeah,
I'd love to see you guys sign him, but we know that you guys struggle with signing players to Good
keeping the
contract.
players. Yeah, exactly. I think there were rumors that they were going to tag him for the next year, which I really don't know why, because he's on his final year of his contract, so we'll see.
Hey, if I was in the GM position of the Dallas Cowboys, I'm paying Pickens that top dollar. If he's a young guy, pair him up with CD. You can't ask for anything more.
Yeah, that's exactly. I totally agree. And then there's a run game now with Javante, so it's we got to keep the core. So Trey McBride, gives you the 27. And then here we go, Sean Tucker right here on the bench, 34. 34 from Sean Tucker. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown, 19 carries, 106 yards, and that was a great game to watch. To actually watch that game, that was a fun game. That Buffalo and whew, Josh Allen, man, we'll get into when we talk about Shane's matchup, but man, that was a crazy game. So good to see Mahomes. So what are your thoughts on Mahomes here? I mean, the Chiefs right now
They're looking a little rocky.
a little struggling. We thought that with Rasheed Rice coming back, this is going to be the kind of what they needed. They've I mean Mahomes fantasy wise, at least the last 2 games, have struggled against Buffalo and Denver. Granted, those are good teams, but I mean, what do you?
Generally, he's always, slinging the ball out and having a
Yeah,
shootout against Buffalo. I mean, granted, Denver has one of the best defenses in the league, so
yeah.
you're not going to expect the best showing from him. But coming from a guy like Mahomes, you're definitely hoping for more than 13 points.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think there was a thing that I saw that they have a chance of losing the AFC West potentially after this week. Not win the division, and that'll be like the first time in years. So
Is that Mahomes dynasty finally coming to an end?
it's possible. That's the $1 million question.
And if it does, do you think he stays a Chief, or do you think he's got a shot for a new home?
Let us know in the comments, people, what you think about that.
Yes, let us know. Let us know.
Will Mahomes stay a Chief, or will they trade him for valuable assets? Interesting. I like that. Good point. All right. So moving on to Vinny's side here. I mean, you know what? It paid off. That second round pick paid off for Vinny. I say it every week. This guy is, if he's healthy and he stayed healthy, he's the best fantasy player on the planet. It's just how it is. There's just no denying that. McCaffrey
Every year, though, it's going to get a little scarier and scarier to take
will
him.
will. Now the question is, do you take him? So next year, if you had the like a top 5 pick, would you take him as a top 5?
That's also a great question. I mean, that was a question on everyone's mind this year as well. But McCaffrey has proved that he's up back to his RB1 status. Personally, I would not. I would try to fish for him around where Vinny got him in the second round. Personally, I think he would be a phenomenal late first round pick or an early second round pick.
All right, you hear that, people? For when we do our main league again next year, just keep that in mind. See where his ADP lands.
I'm sure he'll be projected to be up there with guys like Gibbs, Bijan,
Yeah,
Saquon, but
yeah,
I think we have some guys who are a little wary of McCaffrey's injury
yeah,
history, and his rising age. So
yeah,
always things to take a look at.
yeah. Absolutely. And then we're looking at Drake London here. He's gonna miss this week, unfortunately. He sprained his PCL, and honestly, I I wasn't surprised he wasn't hurt earlier, just because this man just is nothing. All I see him is he gets targeted probably every play. I mean, he is like literally the only like wide receiver offense on that team. Penix loved looking at him. I mean, he looked at Pitts a couple times, but it's always Drake London. It's always London, and this guy is always limited at practice. So I'm surprised he hasn't been out earlier because of the amount of work that they use him for. So um,
He's definitely got a huge workload,
Yeah.
and that goes on to my comments earlier with Bijan. You know, that
Yes.
workload with Bijan, he's gonna have to come out that game, take a little bit of a rest, and
Yes.
it's the workload just finally catching up to London. He'll take a one game break and he'll bounce back.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Question is, will he be playing at his same standard with Kirk Cousins?
Mm. That's true. Yes, with Penix and Kirk Cousins will take over. Um, I mean, I know Cousins and Darnell Mooney have had a connection in the past. So I don't know if that will make any difference, but I don't think I don't. Mm, I don't know. That's a good question. I think there will definitely be it's gonna take some time. I think it'll take some time. I think London will start off a little slow at the gate, and then I think eventually, you know, I think they'll develop that rapport. That's what I think. I mean, they got the when he comes back, they'll have the Jets, Seattle, Tampa Bay. So probably Seattle being their more difficult defensive matchup, and then Arizona. So he has some games where he can prove he can still be that guy with Cousins. So
And here's to just spitball some stats here at you, Ken. With
yeah.
Cousins as a starter for Drake London's 7 games, London has respectively landed at wide receiver 27, 33,
Mm.
25, 45, 15, 32, and 64. So he's had a
Wow.
lot of rough outings with Kirk Cousins under the helm of the ship there.
That is some stats. He's speaking facts, guys. All right, that's big because that's big news. And that has a big impact, especially with Vinny's team being like those are his wide, especially with Garrett Wilson. We don't know when he'll come back, and then that's it. That's all he's got. So Cortland Sutton is no longer the. I truly think Troy Franklin's taken over that wide receiver.
I agree with you there.
Yeah,
Troy Franklin has kind of become their deep red zone threat and
yeah,
kind of taken off.
yeah,
Better chemistry there with Knicks as well.
yeah. So and with Vinny being 5-6, this is a rough. It's rough for him right now. So I think
This
so.
might be a week where Vinny has to trade out one of these big name stars on his team. I do believe the trade deadline is coming up next week as well. So
Yes, yes.
um,
Thank you. Yes, trade
this
deadline
is
next week.
something Vinny might have to think about with some of these things going forward.
Does he potentially trade Saquon? Does he trade McCaffrey? Does he get rid of it and get literally all the value? Like does he do it? I don't know. We'll see what he thinks. We'll see what he does. But overall, though, matchup guys, Corey, congrats on the win there, and good luck next week, gentlemen. So we'll move on to let's take a look here at Shane's matchup here at 146 to Trayvon's 104. Oh man,
What a
you want
day!
what a day, Josh Allen. 42 fantasy points. We'll take a look at the stats here. 19 for 30 for 372 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, but I mean that didn't really matter. And 3 rushing, so 3 passing and 3 rushing. I think he passed Cam Newton or is right on the cusp of passing Cam Newton for the rushing touchdowns. I forgot what it was, but um, he's right there though. And he carried that team on his back with no Kincaid. So,
Man,
what do you
showing why
what are
he
your
was an
thoughts on
MVP.
Josh Allen? Yeah, MVP. Yeah. Do you think that he is also now after this game up there for MVP?
I don't know if he's going to be in the front running, but you definitely got to throw his name in that conversation.
Yeah. Who do you think is front running MVP right now?
Oh man, that's a hard question. I've heard you previously say it is a QB award. I would love to see someone like Jonathan Taylor win the award
I
with his
totally agree.
output this year.
Yeah,
But we're generally not going to see something like that happen.
fortunately, because if Saquon couldn't get it last year, it's not going to happen again unless you're Adrian Peterson. But I think right now, personally, I think it's between. I think Stafford has a case. Even Drake May has a case too. Um, Granted, I just don't think they sustain. I think Allen, he still has a. I still think he has a good shot. I mean, the team's on his back. He's literally MVP. He's reigning MVP. So we'll see. Um, like I said, I truly think it should be Jonathan Taylor, but that's not my decision to make.
I also think probably we'll see Indiana Jones possibly be winning comeback player of the year.
Was he hurt last year, Indiana Jones?
I don't believe he was. I know they generally give it to people who have been hurt, but
Are
the
they
the
changing
output
it
in
this
his
year?
gameplay has really changed.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if that is that an award that is only given to people that have had like a season-ending injury and bounced back, or
That's what I thought it was last year when who won it? Wasn't it Joe Burrow that won it last year? Or no, it wasn't Burrow. It was I forgot who it was, but I thought it was for somebody who was injured the previous year came back. But
could be wrong, but
yeah,
if
well,
if it is not an injury award, Daniel Jones should be in that conversation for comeback
for
player of the
sure,
year.
for sure. Um, but yeah, overall, Travion, there it is, like we were just talking about before. Travion, another um, a three touchdown game here. He had two oh actually yeah he had two rushing, one receiving. He was very efficient though. He 62 yards but 31 receiving yards. So um not ended up having he had 93 yards total combined, and still had a great output though, and five receptions. So he's definitely getting targeted too, which is great to see in PPR format. And like you mentioned, I think he should have been starting a while ago. But
An unfortunate showing for Devontae Smith over there for Shane.
yeah, but the Eagles have been weird all year. They
They
really have
have.
been. It's been so weird. Saquon is not the Saquon that you drafted high. AJ Brown even said himself to drop him. And Devontae is becoming the number one, but it's pretty much if you don't, it's only Jalen Hurts. If you Jalen Hurts and maybe Goddard are probably the only, like, just because of how thin the tight end and position really is. I think those are the only two guys from that team that you could really say can be started. Well, no, you could start everybody, but as far as like production wise, you're going to be consistent.
Yeah, Hertz has had a couple down weeks himself the last, I believe, like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
But he is always going to be that very consistent guy.
for sure.
It's very weird to see how their team is so good this year, but none of them are really performing.
I truly think it's because they've had a lot of games where it's been low scoring uh, and have only won by like a few points. They've had a lot of low scoring games like this, um, but it's definitely a weird year, and I think next year, like I think they're going to have a better year, just a bounce back year. I just think they will, just because it's Philly. They're gonna if they unless they decide to change some things up and maybe trade AJ Brown, which that's a conversation. We'll see what happens there. But overall, with Tyler Warren on a bye, no Warren, no problem. And then looking over on Trayvon's side here, Diggs 19, ETN 19, and finally Chase Brown. He's been looking very good the last 3 weeks here. I mean, ever since Joe Flacco been at the helm. So and as expected, he was at the end of the season last year, he was like top 10 running back, I think. Um, and so it's great to see him kind of going into form. Um, and we'll talk about Jamar Chase. He did a little spitting action. What do you think about that, BMack?
Hey man, sometimes the everything feelings get high, things get hot, words are said, actions are done, heat of the moment. I don't know if he should be suspended for a game. I don't know. We've also seen a history with Jalen Ramsey and opposing wide receivers. So is Jamar Chase really the one at fault? I don't know. It is tough to
Yeah,
see though for Trayvon.
yeah, especially because he's in win now mode, and like Chase being wide receiver two on the year, like it's tough. You're losing him over something so petty, and it's really interesting to see because they only when this happened in the first game of the season when Jalen Carter did that to Dak, I think they ejected Carter for the game, and they only fined him. So something else must have happened, and even Dak spit out at Jalen Carter. Nothing happened to him. So like this it's really something else must have happened besides, but I didn't see what happened, so something else must have like brewed with that, because there's no way that someone as high as Chase they're just going to suspend unless there was like something else with that. So
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, but
yeah,
again, Jalen Ramsey has had a history with even Cincinnati wide receivers in the past, such as like AJ Green.
okay, yeah,
But hate to see it.
that's a little unfortunate. So. And then also with Marvin Harrison being out, that really shakes up his wide receiver core there a little bit. But still got some studs. He's got Rice, Bowers, still has ETN. So, and he's got RJ Harvey now taking over the backfield. So, um, yeah. So
And
he's
wasn't there some news? Khalili Shakir, whatever this guy's name is, on Buffalo.
yeah.
He was benched for a little bit of the game, right? For missing
Oh,
practice or something like
oh,
that.
oh. I mean, it definitely feels like that because he only had point 0.7. So that I truly would believe that. Um,
I thought I saw something about that today. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, the only thing I remember from the Cowboys game that first drive they sat out Lamb and Pickens because they had missed some type of morning workout.
They were out at the casinos. We all know
Yeah,
what they were doing.
exactly. Yeah. So so yeah, a little unfortunate for Trayvon, and he's had a couple low scoring weeks in the past week. So Bo Nix has last 2 weeks, but um, yeah.
He
So
is
we'll see.
playing the Raiders and the Washington Commanders though coming up, so we
All
should see some
right,
bounce back
so
games.
I think so. So we'll see what Trayvon does with his wide receivers this week. Just because with Harrison and Chase being out, that's those are pretty big hits. So, but overall, great game, gentlemen. Shane, congrats on the win, and you've been dropping very high points the last few weeks. So I think look out, you're on a little
Keep
weak
an eye
streak
on
here.
Don Cheadle over there.
Yeah, Don Cheadle forever. That's why yeah, exactly. All right, and the final matchup that we had was Ant taking on BMack,
And
and
what a snooze fest this one was.
BMac with a 103. One of you've had a couple 100 point games, and which is very surprising, honestly, to me. Especially with your running backs and then
Hey
Devontae.
man,
Yeah.
I might have, I think, the one of the lower scoring outputs for my record compared to
Hmm.
everyone else in the East. So
Yeah.
it'll be a little interesting to see when it comes down to the end of the year where I'm fighting for that wild card spot with some of the opponents over in the East. But hopefully
Hey,
my
hey,
record
hey!
can kind of keep up and keep me above some of them.
Don't knock yourself out. You're still in the race for the division, my friend. All right.
Yes, sir.
So
Hopefully, we'll see. We'll see.
we'll see what happens. So over here, Gibbs finally, I'm not gonna say finally, but like two really good back-to-back games, and I saw a thing, and they say this every week, but they were saying they want to give Monty more carries again. I keep hearing that every week, so I don't believe it. Uh, they're still gonna, is it, am I reading this right? 107 receiving yards?
On
Oh,
only 5 receptions too.
5 receptions. So he must have had there must have been some type of long touchdown in there. Oh no, he had no touchdowns. No touchdowns. Wow. So he just wow. Okay. So that's really good to see for Gibbs. And I love Gibbs. I have a couple of his. I actually got a couple new autograph cards of his. So I
Shout
really like.
out Kenny for giving me that Gibbs
Yes.
card last week to help me pull out that win against Nick over there.
Exactly. Yes. Um. And let's take a look here. Buka only 9, which is definitely one of his weaker. Well, he's had a couple. Some of these he was hurt, but against Buffalo, it's you kind of have to throw to who's open against Buffalo, so it's tough. Um, Now, what are your thoughts here on Gadsden? He's compared to what he's had in the past few, like the last couple weeks, like mainly the last 2 weeks, I would say. Um, you know. he's been struggling a little bit. Is that just based off of because Herbert was struggling, or like do you think that Herbert's not really looking his way anymore? Because he still had 5 targets, 6 targets. So
That's a great question, Ken. I personally didn't tune into the game, so
yeah,
I wasn't really aware of on how this week really went with Godson.
hmm
I do know that Herbert went down early in the game,
yeah,
so it is going to hurt his production moving forward. I'm not sure how long Herbert is going to be out for, um,
yeah,
but they are on a bye this week, so hopefully he could kind of everyone could get rest up and everyone could get healthy, get their mind straight, and gonna have to play Kate Otten this week.
K dot and it is, K dot and it is. But and then a little unfortunate. I mean, Judkins the last couple weeks too has been,
He's
and he's
also
had
been having some low outputs here.
yeah, and he's had some favorable matchups. Baltimore Jets. I mean, and then now he's got the Raiders this week. So hopefully that helps his production. And maybe with Shador in the lineup now, will
I was
that
just
help?
gonna say he is playing with some rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Shador, it seems like he had a little bit of a rocky first start, according to the media.
yeah,
But with young guys at the helm, there could be
yeah,
some miscommunications going on. You're not really sure even Judkins himself is a rookie. He's had a
yeah.
little bit more time with the playbook, but always a little bit interesting to see. I saw some reports that Shador Sanders didn't get any first team reps at all until this week. So
Wow, I'm surprised. I
it's a
mean,
little worrying to hear stuff like that.
yeah, I mean that means they really trusted in Dylan Gabriel for some reason, and I mean he's had some good games, but I really think they should have probably at least gambled with Shador a little bit more
I
this
agree.
time.
You draft guys for a reason. You gotta
Yeah,
always give them a chance to ball out in that limelight.
I personally think it was a steal getting him in the 5th round, just like how he was playing in college, but that's college, so well, you know, we'll uh we'll leave it to that. So,
We had
but
a
overall,
great bounce back for Derrick
yeah.
Henry here.
Yes, Henry, absolutely. Last few games, he's been pretty decent, getting your 11, 13, 19, but beginning of the season was a little rough, but you weathered the storm there, bmack, and,
I
and
weathered
held
the
your
storm,
hand,
and the king seems to be back on his throne. We'll see if he
and
can keep the crown on his head, though.
and the Kings got some really good matchups. He's got the Jets, 2 Cincinnati matchups, and I'm sure he'll do well against the Pittsburgh. So, that's really good for the playoff push for sure. So he's King Henry for a reason, and he's here to stay.
And then going off my bench, it's great to see Trey Tucker finally kind of falling into the number one role over there on the
Yeah,
Raiders.
yeah, he did have 1 touchdown as well. I mean, if he didn't have that touchdown, it would have been you
Would
would
have
have
been a
had
rough
another.
outing,
So,
but it's
yeah,
nice to see him finally developing a little bit more of a connection there and filling into that bigger role.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's going to come a time where they're just going to have to continue to throw the ball. I mean, they can't rely on the run. They gave up the run like the whole second half of that game, obviously, because they were down so much. So don't blame them. But there's not going to be a time where they're going to be relying on the run. They're going to have to continue to throw. So he'll get more opportunities, and you know, with Brock Bowers. So yeah. But overall, though, it was I thought it was definitely a weaker one of our weaker games this week, but you know what? A win's a win. You take it.
Hey, I'll take it and run. And it's not to say he has a bad team, and he had
It's
a great waiver pickup this week. So,
yes.
like I said
Uh,
earlier, he could end someone's season with a sneaky win pulling out
yeah,
here.
absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, you had, Olave was on a bye, and he's been a big part of your fantasy this year. Um, and Jay Jetta's so I here's my opinion. You tell me what you think. I think they should have kept Sam Darnold. I don't.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, I don't think they should have kept the realms because we had not seen JJ McCarthy once. They trusted him, and I mean, he's throwing at least a pick every game. He was struggling that last game, I think.
Tybo, we gotta have that conversation, man. He's gotta
Tybo,
go.
it's he's not the guy.
9 is not that guy.
He's not the guy. I just I mean, let's see. So they're playing this week. They're playing, and they're playing Green Bay this week. Oh boy. Well, if if you could find a way to avoid Michael Parsons, have fun. But yeah, Tybo, I'm sorry if you're listening to this. Your guy's got to get benched or something. You got whoever your backup is. I'd rather throw him in, to be honest.
His JJ McCarthy's best outing was against the Ravens 2 weeks ago, where he threw for about 250 yards. But besides that, he's only gotten about 150 yards a game.
And you have that kind of wide receiver core. If I were Jay Jettas, I'd be pissed. And I think he
Yeah.
was. I think Jettas has shown instances of him being upset. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he has some kind of like an AJ Brown moment, you know. Um, but Ken Walker, very it's good to see. I mean, this backfield's been kind of split, which is really surprising to me because Ken Walker's usually been the guy all year, all last year at least. But he kind of took over here, 16 carries, 67 yards, and a touchdown. So I think they'll probably use him going forward, Ken Walker, and as they should. You know, with injuries, Dobbins, Benson will get back. Tyrone Tracy, had it looks like he actually did drop him. Wow. So that's interesting. Overall, though, Nick, not Nick, one of your weaker performances, 77, but you've had a lot of under 100-point games. And honestly, it's not nothing to do with your team. It's just they're performing not up to par. You know. So, but
I predict Ant will take one more win before the season's over.
I
I believe
agree.
it.
I think he will. I think honestly, it'll be like an important, especially one that might affect playoff. So he could definitely play upset, and he's we'll see what happens when he faces me this week. He could very well do it. So
Hey Ken, if you take one game down, you gotta remember I'm right behind you.
you're right there, exactly. So well, this was last week. So let's move on to now. Congrats everyone that won this past week. We'll move on to our matchups upcoming. Um, and we'll start with what we can say will be, I guess, the matchup of the week. And I want to say it's going to be between here, Shane and Dan here. So let's take a look at this here. So very even split here. Dan's got like a 2% advantage. Um, but looking at, and looks like he did put in Bucky. So are we getting a return of Bucky this week? We may be. Um, he's ramping up his reps to test his availability. So Dan could finally get Bucky back potentially. And that would
Been
be
waiting a very
massive.
long time for that.
Yes, and it was so weird when he first got hurt because we didn't really know what happened. They just said he was just hurt and he's just been out. So he didn't get injured in the game or anything. So that's a massive upgrade for him. He doesn't have to, he doesn't have to play Ja'Cory or Devin Singletary anymore. So bye weeks. Take a look at any bye weeks that he may have. No, just Ja'Cory. So he's got his guys in. And this is definitely got some pretty intriguing matchups here. KC, that's going to be a good one. The Chiefs versus the Colts. And then the Cowboys take it on Philly. That's one of the division matchups. So um, should be some good matchups for Dan. And then over on Shane's side, who's pretty hot right now. Um, that Josh Allen, Houston. Uh, let's see here. He's got some pretty favorable ones for sure going up against Dallas and their defense.
Travion Henderson
Um,
against Cincinnati is a big
Travion
one.
Henderson against Cincinnati, that is a huge one. He does not. He did pick up Joe Burrow, so I mean, not that he's going to need him because he's got Josh Allen, but I mean, still, you never know when. You never know. But no guys on a bye, so these teams are fully set. Nobody's on a bye. Um, and this should be a battle. I'm excited to look forward to this one, for sure.
Who you taking in this matchup, Ken?
Oh man, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Wow. Um, oh, I'm gonna have to lean Shane's way here. I think. I
You
mean,
know,
he's been pretty hot right now. And the matchups though are pretty even on both sides. Like as far as like head to head matchups for the teams for the players. So that's who I'm gonna lean. Sorry, Dan.
I was also going to lean a little bit towards Shane's side, but if Bucky Irvin is in this week, I think Dan might take the edge. So I'm gonna lean Dan's
Really?
side.
You don't think that they're gonna? You don't think that they're gonna like ease him in a little bit, or you think that here?
I mean, it seems like that's what they've been doing in practice. If we were reading that report just now correctly, it
Right.
seems like he's already been doing the easing back in.
That's just ramping up his reps, yeah. So, I mean, against the Rams defense too, it's going to be tough because Rams have been a top five defense this year. So, but still, it's better than having somebody like Jacorian or Singletary. So, yeah, this should be a fun one. I'm excited for this one. Um, and
We'll
we'll
see
see
how
who
Dan's special teams perform this week with the Seahawks. That's where he
loves
gets a load of his points. So a
listen,
matchup against Tennessee is very favorable.
number one defense this year. I respect it. Wow, absolutely. So, all right, maybe we'll make a side bet here, bmack. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so that was our matchup of the week. Let's move on to another pretty good matchup, I would say, too, division-wise. A lot of divisional ones here. Um, we got, I think all of these. I think we have all divisional matchups this week. Actually, yes, these are all divisional matchups. Yeah, Nick taking on Vinny here. Vinny hasn't yet set his lineup, but you know, looking at bye weeks here, you got Achan, Ladd, Herbert. So Bimageddon is affecting Nick, but I truly don't think it's really affecting much of his team. He's got a pretty solid depth, to be honest. As far as like bench, um, and so he definitely has a good chance of winning this week. Uh,
Something to point out is Vinny does not have one active wide receiver this week.
he does not have one active wide receiver. Oh man, that is rough. So he might need to go to the waiver wire here. He probably should, but I will let him make that decision. And yeah, I mean Saquon against Dallas. I think this is a pretty important one because looking at Saquon's performance all year, last time against Dallas, he had 18, but I think Saquon needs to have a game like this, or at least a 20-plus point performance, especially against Dallas's run D, for him to have a pretty good shot. Because you know what Drake May is going to give you, especially against Cincinnati, projected 25 points. So, and we know what CMC is going to give you. So I think it's going to be Saquon because whoever his receivers are, they're not going to be good. So.
Unfortunately,
Um,
not.
Yeah, so you're pretty much going to have to get carried by Mays, Saquon, and McCaffrey. Otherwise, Vinny, you are probably not going to win this matchup. But I mean, I thought that last week when facing Nick. So you know what? You never really know. Sometimes all it takes is one guy to drop 40 plus, and it's over. So unfortunately for me, for you, Vinny, I am going to lean Nick's way here just because of that. You're a little bit on Biomageddon and some injuries. So it's kind of a rough,
Fortunately, I'll be leaning the same
unfortunately.
way.
Yeah. And it's a really bad time all this happened too, especially towards, being in the playoff push. It's really unfortunate, but, you know, we it happens to the best of us.
Who knows? Maybe his waiver wire pickups will be dropping 15 plus points.
You know what? That happens. That happens. So best of luck, gentlemen. This is a very important matchup for you too, Vinny. Just because you being at 5-6 and the rest of the division being at 6-5 or 7-4, it's kind of one you don't really want to drop. So, but we will see what happens. All right, and then we will move on to the win now or the must win matchup here. One that we'll also be keeping eyes on is the Corey taking on the Trayvon matchup here. Um, and like we talked about, Kincaid being out, but then also Jamar Chase being suspended here for that one game. big, massive effect on Trayvon's team. So, and then also Marvin Harrison being out too this week. You know, wide receivers are pretty rough right now for around the league. It looks like here. Uh, so it looks like we'll need a replacement. Have to put a replacement in for sure. And yeah, what are your thoughts on this matchup here, VMAC?
I mean, my eyes immediately go to the tight end matchup, Trey McBride versus Bowers.
Oh, I like your eyes. Yes. That is a great yes. Trey McBride 1 and Bowers he's 10. Um, but yeah, these guys they were drafted as the top two for sure. Um, and
But we'll see who Trayvon can throw into his flex.
yeah,
The hurt for Chase is huge this week.
he being on a bye too, Bo Nix on a bye, so he's not only has bye week issues but also injury and suspension. So we'll see. We'll see who he puts in. So if I'm gonna have to pick one here, oh boy, I may have to lean Corey's way here. I'm thinking, just because, only because of, with your buys and injuries, Trayvon and suspension. I think that if Chase was playing and Marvin Harrison was in, I would think this is a pretty 50-50 matchup. But I think because of that, it's really affecting the outcome.
I would definitely agree. I'm gonna lean Corey's side this week. I mean, as of late, Caleb Williams has been playing just as good or if not better than Bo Nix, so
Yeah,
he's not really taking the biggest hit at his QB position, but Trayvon is taking some pretty massive hits this week.
yeah,
Um, but crazier upsets have happened, so good luck to both you guys.
yes. Best of luck. All right, moving on to BMAC. Move on to your matchup here. You take it on Tybo here um, in our divisional matchup, and uh, this is definitely can't really say really is it really a must win. It could be. I mean Tybo's gonna a limit for you, I guess, if you want to maintain the divisional lead race. I guess you can say it is, but you know, um, overall, as far as the wild card, you're looking in a pretty good spot right now, for sure. Um, but taking a look here, we have this matchup. We got you have some pretty favorable matchups for sure. Jalen against Dallas, Gibbs and Jameson against the Giants here. As far as bye week, just Gadsden it looking like here is on a bye. So you filled in your tight end with Cade, which is good. And we're benching Junkins this week. That is an interesting play.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, the Lions head coach came out and apologized for Jamison Williams not getting the ball at all. And since then, Jamison Williams has been on a tear, and they're playing the Giants
Oh
this week.
wow,
And I'm gonna trust in my guy that I drafted.
that's going to be an interesting one. You got Jameson and taking on Amon Ra here. That should be a good one. That's fun to watch. And let's see here. Tybo will definitely need to have a replacement running. Well, he's also got a little bit of injury. Evans, Laporta. I mean, Evans I think is out for the year at this point. Yeah. So Laporta was on IR, so he's got Algier, so maybe he'll replace.
He also has Aaron Jones, who has had some decent outings the last 3 weeks. I would say he's definitely at least flex starting
Oh, Aaron
viable.
Jones. Yes, Aaron Jones. Yeah, yeah. He's projected 13 this week, 13.5. Going against Green Bay though, that's going to be tough. I think that they think it said right here the 10th fewest fantasy points per games to running backs. So it's a little rough, but I mean you got to do what you got to do when you got injuries. But BMAC, I will definitely lean your way on this one for sure. You got
As will I. I think I'll lean my way.
so yeah, take this one and let's get some points on the board for you. All right?
Yeah, I need to have a big week points wise to kind
Yeah.
of set a good foundation for that playoff wild card or potentially wild card hunt.
Questionable kicker here too.
I
So
used questionable last week. He'll
All
be
right.
valid.
All right. And the final matchup will be myself taking on Ant here. Um, Ant gets some of his guys back that he needs, like Olave, and he's got some buys, Keenan Allen, Kamani, um, and he's definitely has some more favorable matchups here. He's got Ken Walker against Tennessee, Lamar against the Jets. He's putting in Emmanuel Wilson, and then AJ Brown against Dallas. So good matchups. It's pretty evenly here. I get my JT back, and against Kansas City, that's gonna be. I would love to watch that matchup. Um, and I am throwing in Michael Wilson. I believe in Wilson. Uh, I think that should be good. And yeah, and I am throwing in Brissett. I think I'm going to see what happens. Maybe we'll get a Brissett to Wilson touchdown combo.
Would be a great thing to see for
I
you
would
there,
love to see
Ken.
it. I would love to see that. Yeah. Got a couple guys on buys, but nothing really. I mean, yeah, with Devo being out and Dicker being number one kicker, kind of hurts, but it's all right. We'll make it work, and should be a good one. It's pretty even, so this could be the week that Ant could pull the upset off, and that would be a massive blow to me. So we'll see what happens. Um, who are you leading on this, BMAC?
Matchup wise, it looks like you're going to be getting a load of your points here from JT and Cook there.
Yeah,
So if you could pull off a 40-point week or with Jonathan Taylor again, that would boost you hugely.
yeah.
But I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here, and I'm gonna root for Anthony. I'd like to see you lose, and for myself
Okay.
to be able to tie it up for that first place spot. I'm putting all my chips in for Ant this week.
As you should, as you should. Now it should be a good one, Ant, and I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to this one as well. And it's possible you can pull off the upset, and if you do, that would be massive for not only BMAC but the rest of the league. So, um, like we said, I think you'll get another win somehow. It just better not be this week.
Make it this week.
But good luck, Ant. But yeah, so that will do it for our matchups. I like to thank BMAC for joining this week. BMAC, uh,
Thank you for having me, Ken. It was a
yeah,
pleasure.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. So like BMAC mentioned, next week is the trade deadline, November 26th at 12 p.m. So if you have any last minute trades, please get those in. And after that, it's the push for the playoffs. This is it. But any final words, BMAC, you have for this
Yeah,
episode?
best of luck to everyone in this playoff push. Hope everyone does their very best to get there to make it a nice competitive playoffs. Thank you for having me, Ken,
Of course.
and go Bikini Bottom Bubble Bass.
All right, guys. Well, this is week 12 of Kenny's Corner signing off. Peace out, everyone.
Peace.